Now, as I've said, I was the hospital orderly and fed the Yorkshire Ripper every day. And when the remand likes of Yorkshire Ripper for psychological reports, what actually happens is placed into a cell, and a member of staff, a psychological nurse, he has a table on the landing with a book in it. Now what he has to do is, he has to go and spy on the Yorkshire Ripper at a particular time for a few minutes and observe exactly what he is doing, and then go back and write it down in the book and sign it and put the time. Then at the end of the week, this book goes into the psychologist, who goes through it and says, right, we'll put him on this medication and we'll put him on that medication and see what happens. And this is because they medicate them up so that if they are just trying to pass themselves off as a paranoid schizophrenic, to get sent to a mental health hospital instead of a prison, they wouldn't be able to mimic what they do. If they suffer from this particular form of schizophrenia, where he was hearing voices and believed God was telling him to kill these women, even medicated up, it would wake up like a robot and still do all the same things. It's because they have set patterns of behaviour that cannot be mimicked. So then when they go back and write down in the book again everything that he's been doing, but the screw is sat in the office, supping a can and watching pornos on internet. So who's going to go observe the Ripper? Exactly, people. Not the member of staff that's supposed to be. Me, Arthur Taylor, HMP Armley, hospital orderly. So I would go, it was my turn on the joint. So what I would do is, I would go and have a look and see what it said he did at that time, the day before and day before that, and write it same but different wording. So it looked like I'd done my job and I didn't miss the joint. Then the screw would come up when he had a minute. If they were outwrote in the book by me on the Yorkshire Ripper or any other inmates at the time, he'd sign it as though he'd wrote it. That's how it were done. It were one of our duties, as well as giving the inmates lights for the cigarettes, because none of them was allowed to have lighters or anything that could harm them in any way, razors or anything like that, had to be done supervised. Some of them, when we went in to feed them, had to have 5 officers to unlock. The Yorkshire Ripper, as I've said, his reports would be taken back into the psychologist at the end of the week and say, yes, look, my officer's saying that he's performing all the same things, doing the same things. But it's not the officer, is it? It's me. So then that psychologist says, well, yeah, get him back to court, get him nutted off, get him in that Rampton for the rest of his life. So he's been there and other prisons all over the country. Franklin last, where he's been rushed into hospital and died this morning of COVID-19, as I've said. And he really believed that if he refused COVID treatment, that he would go to heaven. Well, I'm sorry, Ripper, you're going to no heaven. Now, getting to my point, I wrote in that book, that psychologist made decision he was schizophrenic and get him sent to nut him off for the rest of his life. On what I said, an inmate, not a staff nurse. So, as all you lawyers and people that matter know, this can very, very easily be proven. All you have to do is, you don't need my handwriting. All you need is that book, which will be in your records. And don't be saying, oh, it's gone missing when we digitised, because you have got the records dating way, way, way back into the hanging days. So I'm sure you haven't lost this book. In that book, the officer's signature's there, saying what the Ripper was doing at whatever time, and that it was him that had observed him. Check his writing, and I guarantee you it isn't on them in that book, because it's mine and other orderlies. Now, everybody that dealt with the Yorkshire Ripper, the doctors, psychologists, prison staff, judges, juries, all that heard the atrocities the Ripper committed on his victims, all needed psychological help afterwards. Now, all these years later, I've got a question. Where's my treatment? Why has nobody ever asked me if I'm all right? And don't forget, it's not just the Ripper's case that's me writing in that book. Me writing in that book puts their cases, Rippers, Panthers, a lot of others, in jeopardy. Which means there are still criminals that were nutted off round them times, still serving lengthy sentences, or in nut houses, all on mine and the other orderlies say so. All these people, it's a point of law. It doesn't matter that they were guilty. They hadn't used the proper channels to convict them. So what they've got to do is release them and pay compensation, which I believe for unlawful imprisonment starts at £1,000 a day, and then there's all the psychological trauma depending on how long and where and what's happened. So now he's dead, and I am actually glad he's dead. But that ain't a very nice thing to say, to wish that on anybody. But that man needed to be dead. Best place for him. And I spit on your grave, Yorkshire Ripper. Now, as I've said, 2 days ago, together with Live Free, Marty Blackburrow, we went and did an audit at the HMP Franklin, where we asked members of staff there their views on what the Yorkshire Ripper had said about if he refused COVID treatment, would he go to heaven? Well, we all know that's not going to happen. But they didn't want to answer anyway. They didn't even want to confirm it. And as I've said, I've been talking about this man since I was orderly in Armley Prison. If you check out my videos, you can actually see when I talk about this man and other people that were in that hospital wing at the same time, which will be coming out in later videos, connected with Wood Street Police Station and corrupt high-ranking police officers. So I'd like to say at this time, like, share and subscribe, and respect to everyone for your support. Thank you.